Hello everybody, it's Elisa here. So today another answer to your Tumblr question, and as always I have my little computer here so I can read the question. What can I do to not eat the entire package of my formal binge foods at once every time I buy them? So this is definitely what I can relate to, and as you know, I come from bulimia and the same background, always having like some binge foods, and just how to create this normal relationship with those foods that you normally binged on, and maybe they were like your biggest like fear foods and the foods that you normally try to limit as much as possible. So I know that in recovery you want to eat what you crave, and when we limited some foods in our eating disorder, there will be the foods that we crave the most, and but we have the bad habit to binge on these foods as we come from the restriction background and always trying to restrict those foods and then binge on them. So how to get out of this unhealthy cycle of always like binging? So here I will give you some tips of how I did it, and as always, I didn't learn it from the book or anything. This is just what helped me. So maybe it can also help you. And but first things first, if you maybe are not like weight restored, or if you are just starting out with recovery, and maybe you used to compensate a lot, maybe you over exercised, maybe you purged, maybe you did other form of like calorie restriction, then part of like the binging can also be extreme hunger. And I will link that down below where you can read more about extreme hunger and why having this abnormally big hunger in recovery can be actually normal. But let's just say that you have been in recovery for quite some time and it is not extreme hunger for you anymore, but there is something else going on. And this was also the same for me. I noticed that it can't be extreme hunger anymore, but there is something else going on. And the thing is that I think mostly it was like a mentally being like wired to the binging habit and the eating disorder habit, that you know, like the restriction cycle, that if you binge, the restriction will always follow, and then it's just the unhealthy cycle of like binge, restrict. But how to get out of this cycle? So the first thing is that never compensate. If you, let's say, eat entire packages of food, then you can't compensate. You can't purge, you can't just go and over-exercise or skip meals or try to, I don't know, limit yourself or eat less, restrict calories or any of that. This is very important so your hunger cues can normalize, and also your body can see that when you binge, there is no restriction that will follow. And this is so important to get out of the binge restrict cycle. Many people try to first stop the binging. You cannot first stop binging if the restriction is still there. That's why we have to first stop the restriction and compensation, and then the binging can also stop. Another thing is to never let yourself get too hungry. In my recovery, I couldn't tolerate the sensation of hunger, and when I got overly hungry, it just like triggered binging. And right now, as a normal eater, I can tolerate the sensation of hunger like as normal people do, and I don't have any problem with this. It doesn't trigger me to like binge eat. But in my recovery, when my hunger cues were like all messed up and my body was not balanced, then feeling overly hungry triggered the next binge. And that's why it's very important to eat regularly. I recommend like every 2-3 hours, always have snacks with you. For example, when you go out and you don't know when you are able to eat or whatever, then it's always good idea to bring some snacks with you so you never let yourself get too hungry. And regular eating is so important because then your body can see that there is constantly, every 2 or 3 hours, there is food coming in, and your body learns that there is no restriction anymore, and it doesn't send you the signals to binge eat at every meal. Because when you maybe eat only like 2 big meals a day, and then you get overly hungry, and then you finally binge out or something, then the eating is so unbalanced, especially in recovery. In recovery, your body needs like a constant flow of calories and energy coming into your body, not like binging, starving. So I hope you can see why this is so important. Include these foods regularly. When we have this eating disorder and we binge eat on the foods that we normally restrict, then what it is that we try to avoid these foods as much as possible, but only when the craving is so strong and we cannot resist anymore, then we binge eat on them. And then we panic, we are like, okay, from tomorrow I'm not gonna eat those foods anymore. But this creates the unhealthy cycle, and this actually makes this unhealthy food more important, and your brain is strongly wired to get this food, because this food now is very special and you can only have it on special occasions and not every day. If you only allow these foods sometimes, or you only allow this when you have a cheat day on your cheat meal, or they are only for special occasions, then your body feels it and it feels restricted. To get out of this good and bad foods mindset, it's so important to start to eat those foods regularly, and not when you have this overwhelming craving for them, but just include them in your everyday foods as a snack or after a normal meal. And even don't wait until the craving is so strong. Even if you don't crave them particularly, eat them anyway. This is what I did, and I think eating them very regularly, many times a day, my body finally felt that it can have them whenever it wants, and also with normal meals. So my body kind of saw that they are part of my everyday foods, they are part of the normal foods, and they're not only sometimes foods anymore, or something I would eat maybe only once a week, or only when the craving is so strong. And this really helped me to balance the cravings of my former binge food, because they became as part of my everyday normal meals. The next thing is to always remind yourself that these foods will always be available. Always remind yourself that you can eat them as much as you want and when you want, very regularly. And these foods are never going anywhere. They're still gonna be there after a few hours or for your next meal, so these foods will never be restricted again. In our past, when we binged on these foods, we normally try to avoid these foods as much as we can until our next binge. But you can have these foods from now on every day, as much as you want, every 2-3 hours regularly, maybe as a snack, maybe as part of your meals, and these foods will always be there. So your body can see that there is no need to binge on this food, because they're always gonna be there and they're not gonna be restricted ever again. Because if you try to avoid eating something for a long period, then it's very likely you're gonna binge on this food, because the craving is so overwhelming. But if you include these foods in your day, very regularly, part of your snack or part of your meals, then these foods can become more normal. Of course, at first you will feel that you want to eat them all the time, or in every snack or every meal. But I promise you, after a while, when you do this, the hunger and the cravings can also balance out. So the last and final thing would be to start to really taste those foods and enjoy those foods. When we had eating disorder and we felt this overwhelming craving, then we tend to just binge and eat as fast as we can, and we don't even taste those foods. And sometimes we binge and we don't even enjoy it. We don't even know why we eat it so much. We can't even taste it or enjoy it, but we still eat it. So in your recovery, when you start to include these foods every day regularly, then also start to enjoy these foods, really notice the taste and how delicious it is, or how good it feels, and really make it a positive, a joyful experience, and something to look forward to, not something to be afraid of. And I think this is also so important for mental recovery, to mentally unwire our brain that always says that this food is bad, And because when we eat this food always signals this negative like signal to our brain, and we have this like negative association with this food. But when you try to and start to eat it with like enjoyment, and it tastes good, and you feel like positive and good in your body, and yeah, just have this like positive sensation in your body, in your brain when you eat those foods, then this food can also become more normal, and your brain doesn't get the signal that this food is like any like threat to your body. So yeah, I hope you can get what I mean about this, and you can always let me know what you think. And I think this is it for today's video. But yeah, these are just my best tips on how to start making your formal like binge foods like more normal, and to not feel that every time you eat them you have to like binge on them or overeat them. So this is it for this video, and please leave me a comment down below. Maybe you have some questions you want me to do my future videos on. And okay, thank you for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye!